I say to this day, and I do it based on my reaction. Obviously, this is personal. I say it's the greatest knockout of all time. First time I ever stood up, I couldn't sit down. I was standing up. I was just like, oh!
I saw that. I saw you stand up. That's the first time I see.
It was just, what?
I didn't expect him the last 6 rounds with AJ. In my opinion, he won 4 of them. People will argue that. He at least won 3.
I'm a little up. But will you take care of me forever and ever?
Joe Rogan reacted to Jake Paul's knockout loss with laughter alongside Anthony Joshua, calling the fight a clear mismatch from the start. Rogan explains that Jake usually faces retired fighters or MMA opponents, not a legitimate Olympic champion heavyweight. He stresses that Joshua is not only elite, but also far above Jake's natural weight class. From a realistic boxing perspective, Rogan says the outcome was obvious long before the first punch was thrown, and the result simply confirmed expectations.
Come full steam ahead 100 miles an hour, or Jake would have moved around the ring at 100 miles an hour. There's 2 things I would have done. Tried to shut Jake down at 100 miles an hour, or I would have gone on the back foot. So Jake decided to move around the ring, and I decided.
After the fight, Anthony Joshua made a strong post-fight statement, saying the knockout actually saved Jake Paul. He explains that if the fight had continued, he would have completely broken him down mentally and physically. Joshua suggests the early finish prevented even more damage inside the ring.
Anthony Joshua. Paul was sturdy for the first couple of rounds, but as the fight went on, the more experienced Joshua began to take control. After continuously connecting in the 5th round, it was only a matter of time before it was over. In the 6th, Joshua went on to knock out Paul with a big right hand. Joshua improved his career record to 29-4 now. Paul loses for the 2nd time in his career.
Anthony Joshua being linked with a so-called circus fight against Jake Paul immediately divides opinion across boxing. Many see it as a spectacle rather than a sporting contest, with the size, experience, and pedigree difference being impossible to ignore. Joshua is a 2-time heavyweight champion and Olympic gold medalist. While Jake Paul is still learning the sport, the matchup feels more like entertainment built for numbers than a genuine boxing challenge, which is why critics label it a circus rather than a real fight. Simon Jordan reacts strongly after Anthony Joshua breaks Jake Paul's jaw with a knockout, calling the entire event damaging to boxing's credibility.
Performance by Jake, brother.
Come on, bro. He's a fucking legend for that. He has such big balls getting in the ring with that guy, dude. Josh was a monster. He stayed in it the whole time, and I'm really proud of Jake, dude. All my respect to him, bro. Whatever outcome. I mean, dude, he went 6.5 rounds with Anthony Joshua. He was the best in the world, so I got nothing but respect.
And got up like 2 times?
No.
Talk about that. I mean, there's been other heavyweights that have felt that right hand who haven't got up.
Nagano, so many people, bro. The overhand right. Jake's got a tough chin, dude. I think he does whatever he wants after this. He just has such big balls, dude. He had to keep moving. That was the only strategy. People are going to say he ran around the ring. They don't know. They don't understand fucking boxing.
He showed a ton of heart, right? What's next for Jake Paul? Where does he go?
He argues that such fights blur the line between sport and spectacle and take attention away from meaningful competition. Jordan emphasizes that Joshua has already earned generational wealth and legacy, so he does not need novelty fights. Even if a Tyson Fury bout never happens, Jordan says Joshua's financial security means walking away would not be surprising.
Some people believe in fairy tales. Whoever believed that Jake Paul was going to win, that was an absolute fairy tale. I've got a friend in a group message that said, I just put $20 on Jake Paul to win. I was like, bro, you just wasted your money. There was never a world in which Jake Paul was going to beat Anthony Joshua. It was always a matter of how the fight would end. So I watched all the pundits talking about the fight, even Rosendo, my boxing coach. I was like, does Anthony Joshua represent boxing? Everybody from that world felt like Anthony Joshua was representing boxing. And as the fight started to go on, first off, he was representing boxing, so they wanted him to get the job done. All right, first and foremost. You can't lose to a guy that's perceived to be a YouTuber, even though today, Jake Paul is more boxer than YouTuber. I've said this time and time again. When you have resources, when you can spend $1 million a year on training camps, housing, food, coaches, this is not recreational anymore. He's a boxer. He's just not a boxer at that level. I ran into his brother in New York City, and I said to Logan, what parameters are in place, Logan? What safeguards do they have to make sure that Anthony Joshua doesn't hurt your brother? He said there are none. He goes, they're going to just straight fight. So in that regard, you got to give credit.
Joe Rogan praises Anthony Joshua by highlighting his speed, athleticism, and devastating power. Rogan explains that Joshua moves like someone much lighter than a heavyweight, and carries a one-punch knockout ability that changes fights instantly. He calls Joshua a nightmare matchup because of how quickly he can close distance and end exchanges. According to Rogan, these traits make it unrealistic for crossover fighters to compete with him at a serious level.
Better is a lot of things, 100%. In the fight game, you've seen the amazing fighters that have graced us over the last 100 years, and the expectations that we put on ourselves are immense, but I tried my best. Jake done well while it lasted, but if you remember what I said in the interview with Cameron is, fighting's not just physical, it's psychological. And when you understand the psychological warfare, I did say to you is that, Jake, what's gonna happen? I'm gonna see a time when I'm gonna take your soul and you're either gonna give up or you're gonna...
Adam Booth gives a brutally honest breakdown and notes that Jake Paul did manage to make Anthony Joshua miss at moments, which he considers significant. Booth says Jake's movement and positioning showed improvement and discipline, forcing Joshua to reset rather than land freely. While Booth makes it clear this does not mean Jake was winning, he acknowledges that creating hesitation against an elite heavyweight is a big deal and shows progress in Jake's development. Continuing his analysis, Adam Booth explains that making a fighter like Joshua miss is not accidental and requires preparation, timing, and confidence. Booth says Jake's footwork and willingness to stay composed under pressure deserve credit. However, he also stresses that these moments do not change the overall reality of the fight. Joshua's class, power, and experience still dictated the outcome once he found his opening.
AJ's won 6 rounds. He kind of dismantled him. He took his time. How do you see it?
Yeah, it was a frustrating 2-3 rounds maybe, because Jake was moving so much, holding, but did well, I thought. I mean, I was impressed with him. I mean, I was more impressed with his toughness, because I think that last shot would have knocked out most heavyweights. I mean, I know
he broke his jaw.
Yeah, I know it knocked him out, but he was not unconscious. You know, I mean, look, he may not come back from it. If he has broken his jaw, it's a big injury to come back from.
Well, there's pictures of him in hospital right now.
Well, listen, you've got to respect him, because he did what many people wouldn't do, which was get in the ring with him. And, you know, he didn't... I know he run and hold, but he also let his hands go at times. And he was in the firing line, and, you know, we got 6 good rounds in the end of actual work.
Is that how you see it in the end?
Yeah, I actually think it's a positive, because, you know, we could have gone in there and got it all over with 45 seconds. He's done an 8-week camp, and now he's done 6 rounds. He's got something to go back on.
In the aftermath, attention shifts to Logan Paul appearing to intimidate Anthony Joshua and talking about revenge for his brother. Logan reportedly expresses interest in fighting Joshua, but analysts immediately dismiss the idea as far more mismatched than Jake's fight. They point out that Jake trains full-time with professional boxing coaches. While Logan lacks that level of commitment and skill, a Logan versus Joshua fight would be even more one-sided. Further discussion around the aftermath reinforces that Logan Paul's pursuit of Anthony Joshua would cross from spectacle into outright farce. Analysts argue that even Jake, despite losing, showed he belongs in professional boxing at a basic level. Logan, by comparison, is seen as far less polished and less serious. The consensus is that such a fight would offer nothing competitive and would only increase criticism of boxing's direction.
Logan, what's up, man? What's your reaction to it?
I'm just so proud of him. My mom has it.
Your brother fought his ass off, man.
Yeah,
I mean, other heavyweights have taken that right hand and only took one.
I'm just so proud of him. That was incredible. In my view, that was a victory on all fronts.
Right.
Like, minus the actual victory, obviously, of course, but bro, like, no one expected him to last 6 rounds with AJ. In my opinion, he won 4 of them. People will argue that he at least won 3. No one expected him to last that long. Rolled his ankle, broke his jaw, still fucking fighting, man. Like, that's toughness. You know, most people wouldn't have the balls ever to step in a boxing ring in their life. He stepped in a boxing ring with one of the baddest men on the planet, who's 40 pounds heavier than him and 6 inches taller. That's insane. He's one of the most skilled fighters on the planet. My brother, as a fucking YouTuber, went 6 rounds with him in a fight with a broken jaw and rolled ankle. I'm so proud of him. That was just unbelievable.
I saw you talking crap to AJ at one point.
I was trying to get his head. I think I pissed him off. I was just saying fuck that shit. I love AJ. But bro,
I saw you going
I was talking so much. But I just pissed him off. Then he broke my brother's jaw.
Sugashano Molly breaks down the fight aftermath by focusing on Jake Paul's mindset going into the bout. He says the trash talk and confidence Jake showed before the fight were misunderstood by critics. According to Ollie, Jake needed that talk to mentally prepare himself to step into the ring with a two-time Olympic champion. Ollie explains a belief and self-talk are essential when facing overwhelming odds, even if the result goes against you. O'Malley adds that without that mental edge, Jake would not have been able to perform at all under pressure. He believes the criticism ignores how difficult it is to share a ring with someone of Joshua's caliber. While the loss was decisive, Ollie argues that Jake's approach showed respect for the challenge and highlighted the psychological demands of fighting an elite heavyweight.
Nikita, just down here, Jeffrey from the Sun. Just to follow up on Jake, he said he broke his jaw in the aftermath. Has he gone to hospital? What's the health update on Jake?
Yeah, we think he broke his jaw. He's fine. We met with Netflix afterwards. He took a shower. He drove himself to the hospital. A broken jaw is very common in sports, particularly in boxing or MMA. And I think the recovery time from the doctors and surgeons we've already talked to is 4.
Teddy Atlas explains that his prediction about the fight going several rounds was based on real boxing factors, not any fixed or staged idea. He points to Anthony Joshua's long layoff, the knockout loss in his previous fight, and the mental hesitation that naturally follows. Atlas says those ghosts take time to clear, especially for a fighter who is not a fast starter. He also mentions a larger ring size, which gave Jake Paul more room to move and survive early. Atlas believes Jake had a serious game plan focused on movement and endurance, but once the pressure increased, the air became thin. According to Atlas, Jake reached a level he had never experienced before, mentally and physically. The combination of Joshua's pressure, Jake's muscular build causing faster fatigue, and the intensity of elite competition led to Jake gassing. Atlas firmly states the fight was real and decided by boxing realities.
That's what happened. And ultimately, Jake Paul lasted a lot longer than anyone said he was going to. And I haven't seen the official scorecards. I don't know if anyone else has, but I think he might have won a round or two or even 3. He was doing tremendously well in there against a person who is vastly more skilled, vastly larger, vastly more powerful. And he did it on 4 weeks preparation.
What would you like to see next for Jake?
I'd like him to take a beat, relax, and then think about when he's gonna fight next. You know, we talked about June, July timeframe. He loves the sport. He loves MVP. He loves the athletes. He loves giving them platform and push. This young lady right here, the whole time when I was talking to her, I said, what do you think? She goes, Jake's gonna win. I believe in him. He can do whatever he wants to do. That's the kind of family that we're building at MVP. It's a fighter-first organization. You guys saw our weigh-in yesterday. That stuff costs a lot of money, but we want to put on the best brand for these fighters to show the world.
Jiri and Paulie Malignaggi give a harsh but honest breakdown of the fight, focusing on how badly it ended for Jake Paul. They point out that Jake suffered serious damage, including a jaw broken in 2 places and lost teeth, yet still failed to earn respect from boxing fans. According to Chris, fans were not entertained because Jake never truly tried to fight. He believes Jake would have been better off going out aggressively, even if that meant getting knocked out earlier. Chris compares it to the Ngannou fight, saying fighters earn respect when they actually attempt to win. Paulie expands on this by explaining that Jake's hit-and-run style was never sustainable. He says moving constantly drains the legs and only delays the inevitable, especially in a big ring. Paulie adds that Jake simply does not have the boxing skills to move and box effectively at the same time. As a novice, Paulie explains a fighter can either fight hard or run, but not mix both. Jake chose survival, and both analysts agree that choice ultimately hurt his standing with boxing fans far more than an early knockout would have.
First 2 or 3 rounds, a little bit frustrating because you've been out of the ring for a year and a half and you've got a guy that's just running around the ring and, you know, you can say you've got to cut him off, but when they're moving at that kind of speed and they're holding up close, but his clinching was quite good, Jake. Like, yeah, listen, you know, I'm not saying he's going to go and win a world title, but he just fought Anthony Joshua and went 5 and a bit rounds. So, you know, respect to him, and it was good to get some rounds in, to be honest with you. He's got a new team. If it would have gone 45 seconds, maybe people would have been more impressed, but we wouldn't really have got any ring time. So we've got that, and now it's a case of when we're at next.
You described Jake as average a few years ago. What's your assessment of him now?
Decent. If you listen to what I said in the build-up, I said he used to be average, now I think he's decent. And the same. I think he's like a top 50 cruiserweight in the world. Top 50, top 60 cruiserweight in the world. So, yeah, and look, you know, like I said, I hope he's okay. 4-0 to Matchroom over MVP. But we're friends now, so respect to him.
Any message for Fury?
Fury, listen, we'll see you this episode.
fair play to Jake Paul. He has a lot of guts, and the fact that he wasn't carried out of this fight on a stretcher, you know, certainly I guess you can say is a positive. But what did I think about this? What did I think about Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul? Look, it felt like Anthony Joshua carried him. It felt like Jake Paul brought in as much of a negative anti-style as possible, circling away, constantly holding Joshua, constantly falling to the ground. Again, while you're certainly going to give respect for the YouTube star turned fighter for having the guts to put on this type of show and to stand in there for as long as he did until a clean right hand in the corner when Paul was absolutely exhausted, dropped him and ended the fight. This is not elite boxing, and we knew that coming in, but if these fights are going to be sanctioned as official fights, like the Mike Tyson fight from last year, like this one, how much longer is the appetite for the fan going to be there when this is such a bad look overall for the sweet science, the sport of boxing, which, you know, cannot get out of its way anyway?